and welcome to Roadside Florida, the program where we travel back in time to Florida's unique attractions and destinations. Some of these places are gone, and some are still going strong, but all are loved by tourists and locals alike. I'm Rene Ramos, director of the Lynn and Louis Wolfson II Florida Moving Image Archives. Once again, my co-pilot is Historian Sylvia Gurinsky. We thank you for streaming us or tuning in. For this episode, we're taking a look at large public events on land, sea, and air that seem to have been missing from our lives lately, but are set to make a comeback. Floridians are crazy about their cars and boats, and our auto and boat shows are where dreams are born and sometimes come true.
Time for that new car or new boat smell. South Florida had its share of auto previews, including the General Motors Autorama at the Coconut Grove Exhibition Center, before the Miami International Auto Show began its annual event at the Miami Beach Convention Center more than 50 years ago. Besides testing the latest models, visitors enjoy seeing cars from the past and the future, and even the movies. The convention center has also been home to most editions of the Miami International Boat Show, which set sail in 1969. Boat lovers have checked out the best of what's on the water, sometimes even getting in the water. Speed and handling matter when you get out on South Florida's waterways, but so does that snazzy galley. Ahoy! Fair winds and following seas, and bon appetit!
To tell us more about our favorite Florida events, here's Sylvia Gurinsky. Welcome back, Sylvia.
Glad to be back, Renee. Thank you.
So, this auto show, people in South Florida, it's such a car-crazy culture here. Is there anything special or unusual about the auto show here in Miami relative to auto shows all over the country? Because it seems like there's, auto shows maybe are a dime a dozen.
Well, it always has something for everybody. The Miami Auto Show has had Memory Lane, for example, people who like vintage cars. Cars for very flashy cars and very pricey cars for people who like those. There can be local connections, perhaps. Cars, for example, from the television show Miami Vice or other television shows that have been filmed in South Florida have been displayed. And people also just have a chance to look for what they're planning to buy. I know that on a number of occasions I've found my next car at the auto show.
So the auto shows typically are used by the manufacturers as a place to introduce their high concept vehicles and their brand new things that they're bringing out to the market. Is there anything that was well known out there that was brought to light at the Miami show?
Gosh. I have to think about that one a little bit, but certainly, again, the connections with the television shows.
So
that
the
have
Miami
taken
Vice.
Place. Miami Vice cars.
So the boat show is the other one, and I always think when I see the boat show announced, I'm not a big boat person myself, because I heard the saying, the happiest 2 days in any boat owner's life are when they buy the boat and when they sell the boat. So, but it seems to be a big thing here. So how has it changed over the years? Because it's been going on forever.
Well, certainly the reason it's a big thing is because we have the avenues, or at least the waterways, to be able to ride boats. And of course, right next to a lot of those waterways, you've got the million-dollar homes and apartment buildings where people can afford to own those boats and display them too. And really, it was at a time, interestingly, that Miami Beach was going through a crisis period. But the convention center, it was at about the same time they started hosting the auto show, they started hosting the boat show as well. And they displayed boats basically at the convention center, but then as the years have passed, things got even bigger, shall we say, with people actually being able to go out on the waterways and see some of those boats on display. This is, of course, before the last several years when the boat show has taken place at Miami Marine Stadium, which has been a whole nother atmosphere.
Definitely another atmosphere, but really kind of taking an important role in reviving that venue and bringing attention to it.
Yes.
Just in light of the fact that it had been neglected for so many years.
Yeah, and of course, Marine Stadium, best known with regard to boats, known best for boat races in its history. But for the several years before the pandemic, there were boats on display there as part of the boat show.
And is that show going to continue at Marine Stadium, or
no.
are they moving?
They're moving back to the convention center because Marine Stadium was meant to be a temporary location while the convention center was being renovated. So they're happy to go back. I think a lot of people and a lot of area residents are also happy because the boat show for Virginia Key, for Marine Stadium, not the greatest venue in the world, a lot of traffic.
Right, there's really only one way in and one way out of that whole area, so it's tough, and it's tough on the residents, and I'm guessing it's tough on the folks that participate
and of course, there's always traffic in South Beach for the boat show and the auto shows anyway, but it's something that they're used to, and familiar event and warmly welcomed events, both.
Well, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll be where? That's right. The fair. So don't touch that dial. And now a TV commercial blast from the past. Hope you enjoy it.
We just got this US West custom ringing thing. It lets me know who a call is for before I answer it. So when it rings normally, I know it's for Mom. When it rings twice, it's an important call for me. And that's a call from Dad's office. So I know to answer it professionally. Hello, Garcia residence. One moment, please. Dad, it's for you again!
Call for custom ringing from US West Communications.
Miami-Dade College has career paths in anything you want to be. What's your story? Be global. Be cutting edge. Be inventive. Be investigative. Be a hero. What do you want to be? Be the best. Be you. Be MDC.
Greetings and welcome back, Florida travelers. Miami-Dade County has always enjoyed the unusual distinction of being a major metropolitan area sandwiched between beautiful beaches and agricultural bounty. The Dade County Youth Fair, nowadays simply referred to as the Fair, is a celebration of our agricultural roots with a large sampling of tasty carnival treats mixed in. Are you ready for your funnel cake? Then let's go.
Forget March Madness. In our community, the Miami-Dade County Fair and Exposition is March tradition. There have been various county fairs since the turn of the 20th century, but the current version, still affectionately known as the Youth Fair, dates back to the 1950s. Kids and families have enthusiastically headed to the fairgrounds at Tamiami Park to share pride over student awards, ooh and ah as they catch the thrilling rides on the Midway, awe and coo over the birds and bunny rabbits in the agriculture section, and munch on corn dogs, funnel cakes, elephant ears, and soft ice cream. Yum! Many locals treasure their proudly won youth fair ribbons and their memories of food and fun.
So welcome back, Sylvia.
And be here again.
Yeah. So the fair, the youth fair, in its many incarnations, is something that just it brings back a lot of memories for a lot of people.
It does, including me,
and it has
including
a very,
you.
very, very special place in our hearts here locally. But the humble beginnings of it, way back in the day, it really was kind of more of a just a typical county fair, wasn't it?
Yeah. And if you go back through Miami's just about entire history, there's almost has not been a time when Miami has not had a fair. Early, if you look at vintage Miami Metropolis editions, you see about with an agricultural focus, a strong agricultural focus. The youth fair we know today actually got its start during the 1950s. And with partnerships such as Dade County Public Schools. Very important, the exhibitions that still take place in the main exhibition buildings. Also special events, special competitions, community. I had a chance in high school to participate in a Hebrew language spelling bee as part of the youth fair. And the agricultural competitions, which also hark back to its own roots, pun intended, and to the county's roots as well, which and still take place today. And of course, the rides on the Midway and the food.
So the actual original site of the fair was way out on West Kendall Drive, if I'm not mistaken. Back in the days when, and it's hard to imagine it now, but when that was a really agricultural kind of an area before all of the townhouses and shopping malls and everything else that went out there. Then it moved, I believe, to Tamiami Park.
Tamiami Park, and predates, for example, its next door neighbor, FIU. And has been a tradition there, and so much so that it is considered a county park, and it hosts all sorts of county events, expositions, when the fair is not there during the last half of March.
So there's a little bit of a contentious type of a relationship between the fair and its neighbors. The original deal that the fair had for that area, it's something that extends decades and decades into the future. And they've been trying to work out something with FIU over the last few years.
Yeah. And I have a book, I'm an FIU alumnus, and I have a book about FIU's 25th anniversary, and there are pages in that book about the partnership, celebrating the partnership that FIU had with the fair for many years. FIU expansion kind of ruffled the feathers, and feathers back and forth on both sides, not having to do with any of the birds that you see being judged at the fair.
And I'm sure someone cried foul at a certain point.
Absolutely. And I hope, as a fair alumnus and as an FIU alumnus, I hope they work it out.
Well, I think the entire community wants them to work it out. It's just it is a sign, though, of just the incredible amounts of development, because if you remember it being first out on Kendall Drive and then
I don't, but
well, I mean, figuratively, and then in Sweetwater, which was also kind of out in the middle of nowhere at the time, and then it's all of a sudden become surrounded by all of this development and very, very highly valuable land. So you're kind of wondering, will it continue to have this kind of rural agricultural focus in the future when it's really, just there isn't anything in the area resembling that anymore?
Yeah, and you hope so, and you hope also for the student exhibits to continue to get a lot of attention. Besides K through 12, there's also been attention to adult classes. And one of my favorite things is to go through the fair and actually see the exhibits, what's on display, and what has been done. Very successful, I think. And of course, the food, another section of the fair success, so much so that last year, when the fair had to be canceled, there was a setup, a lineup, a drive-by grab and go of a lot of the fair's foods, including the elephant ears and the funnel cakes.
Very, very tempting, and hard enough not to put on that extra 10 pounds at home during the pandemic without traveling out there, but very, very tempting indeed. Well, it's time to take another break. If it seems like we're winging it, that's because we will be in a few minutes. After this short intermission, we'll take to the skies with the greatest of ease. Stay with us. Did you enjoy the previous archived TV commercial? Well, here's another one.
When the sun sets in Miami and you're ready to go out on the town, there's a lot of town to go out on. Miami. Be there in a few hours on an Eastern jet. Charge your fare, fun, and hotel on Eastern's Charge-A-Trip plan. No money down, up to 24 months to pay. We want everyone to fly.
Miami-Dade College has career paths in anything you want to be. What's your story? Be global. Be cutting edge. Be inventive. Be investigative. Be a hero. What do you want to be? Be the best. Be you. Be MDC.
Welcome back. Look up at the sky. Is it birds? No, it's a whole lot of planes.
Spanning the globe, or at least over Miami, the thrill of victory and the agony of indigestion? The human drama of South Florida's challenges and competitions has ranged from such things as marathons to stomach-twisting, death-defying air shows and just plain stomach-churning chili cook-offs. Miami has had air shows and exhibitions since a Wright brothers plane came here in 1911. The shows have contributed to this community's reputation as an aviation center. Closer to the ground, the Orange Bowl Marathon made its debut as America fell in love with the exercise of running. Today it has a different name, but the love is no less. And then there's the annual Chili Cook-Off in Broward County. From Davie to its current home in Pembroke Pines, it's left millions of smiles and antacid bottles for sizzling recipes, but also lots of cheers for the country music stars performing there.
Well, welcome back, Sylvia.
Thank you.
So, the air show, it's such an important thing in such an aviation-centric town as Miami has been. I mean, really dating back to the early part of the 20th century. So, how does the air show relate to Miami's history as an aviation town?
It celebrates just about everything about aviation, the people's connection to it, barnstorming pilots from the very beginning, military actually really dating from, arguably from World War I, which was the first war in which aviation had a major part. So whatever connection aviation has to South Florida, air shows are a very important part of it and a very important way that the community has used to celebrate it.
So you mentioned the barnstorming pilots. So what was that exactly?
Pilots who did all sorts of stunts. They would come in the days before the Blue Angels entertained at current air shows. You'd have pilots who'd fly upside down, fly all around in circles, and all sorts of unusual things. Wing walking, which was more, all of these more characteristic of the first half of the 20th century. Things started getting more sophisticated in the shows after World War II and, of course, in recent years.
So a little closer to the ground, the marathon. This is another test of human endurance that we have every year here. What was the development of the marathon? Did it have a small beginning, a large beginning? Has it always been a big event?
The original marathon in South Florida, the Orange Bowl Marathon, started in the 1970s, and it was connected to the increase in popularity of running. And marathons really started becoming very popular in the 1970s and 1980s. And the Orange Bowl Marathon was part of the overall Orange Bowl Festival. It has since had all sorts of different names. These days it's the Miami Marathon, and it has more corporate sponsorship these days. And I would say that for marathon runners, for the rest of us, there's the corporate run, which actually got started during the 1990s. As a way for businesses to celebrate their exercise pride, I guess. And that is about 3.5 kilometers, I believe, is the exact total for runners or people like me, walkers.
But in both events, you do have kind of like an international participation, and they
Yes.
are fairly well-known events
Yes.
in the circuit of running events out there.
Yes.
And then kind of on the other end of the spectrum, competition eating or cooking, as it were, with the chili cook-off. How much chili would you say they actually make during this event?
Plenty. I remember being at a couple of chili cook-offs, one of the later ones in Davie, one of the earlier ones in Pembroke Pines in the 1990s, and row upon row of different chili recipes. At the time, the late, great Art Ginsberg, Mr. Food, was a judge for these contests.
Ooh, it's so good,
Ooh, it's
Mr.
so
Guy.
good. And he would find some in which he'd say, ooh, it's so good, and others that, water. But another great part of the chili cook-off, besides the food, is also the country music. A lot of very successful stars, for example, Faith Hill and Tim McGraw performed there when they were up-and-coming superstars, and all sorts of others, tops in the country music world.
Great events all. Well, thank you, Sylvia.
Thanks
Thanks for being with us again. And that's all for this edition of Roadside Florida. Roadside Florida features historical film and videos from the Lynn and Lewis Wolfson II Florida Moving Image Archives. To see more from the Wolfson Archives collection, visit our website at wolfsonarchives.org. You can search the archives catalog and watch videos online. And be sure to connect to our YouTube channel, where you will find hundreds of carefully curated clips. Or link to the Wolfson Archives Facebook page to keep up with our busy calendar of historical happenings. I'm Rene Ramos. Until next time, thank you for watching.